Yeah, the Lady Vols returned 6 players from a season ago, all with significant playing time. But as coach Kim Caldwell and company load for season 2, my eyes, yeah, they're on Kaniya Boyd and Ruby Whitehorn. Their growth will have the greatest impact on the team's overall success this season. I'm Paige Dower. This is the sports page on Full Disclosure. Now, the head coach could give Kaniya Boyd the keys to the house like this season or next, should she continue to develop the way that she did in her freshman season. In fact, the head coach really didn't even need much like game experience from the then lone freshman before she was already singing her praises, from the speed that Kaniya plays with, from her on-ball defense, or even down to just her IQ of the game. And it's in those compliments and in those areas that Coach Kim was praising the freshman that brought me back to like a conversation I had with her in the preseason, where even then she told me she felt that she was like made for this system.
Like the type of system that she wants us to play, I feel like I fit in really well. So it wasn't really challenging, like getting into it.
For Ruby Whitehorn, where she was praised the most, came down to her effort and energy that she played with.
She's a huge part of our team, not just because of what her skill set is, but because of who she is.
Start with Kaniya Boyd and where I think her growth could come from. It's shot volume. She was not really much of a shooter in high school. That wasn't what her role was, but they need her to do that, especially with her size here in SEC play. Then you could also go to her on-ball defense and how fast she is and what she can do at the top of the press. She needs to be able to capitalize on that a little bit more in the tune of like steals and turnovers. Then we go to Ruby Whitehorn. For her, she has to lean in, let's say, off the court to being a leader for the team. It seemed that she was really one of the more vocal leaders with the team a season ago, and now that she's just one of a handful of returning players, even a smaller pool of veteran players, she needs to lean into that even more so. But when it gets to on the court, she needs a little bit more consistency when it comes to her field goal percentage. If they can do that, this is going to be such a fun team, and they're going to create even new problems and become a whole new problem for opponents in 2025 and 2026. If you take a little bit of a deeper dive with Kaniya Boyd, she appeared in 33 games a season ago. She started 4 games, and despite, being behind a number of veteran players, like a Samara Spencer, like a Talasha Cooper, she still averaged 20 minutes a game. 7 times she played more than 20 minutes. And if that's not a ringing endorsement that, one, the growth that you're making and the production that you have on the court is exactly what your coaching staff wants to see, I really don't know what else is going to be that ringing endorsement for you. But maybe it's this, right? We always knew that she was this confident player. I think, her first year where she redshirted and early enrolled, she maybe seemed like a quieter player. It was just her and Talasha Cooper who were not playing in Kelly Harper's last season, just before Kim Caldwell got here. She seemed a little quiet. Then you get to know her and you get to talk to her a little bit, and you're like, oh, she's the confident player. And that's what you want out of your teammates. You want to know that they're confident in themselves and that they're confident within the team. And it didn't take long before we saw that.
Well, I felt good in warm-ups. I already knew it was going to be a good game. And then when that 3 went down, it was over with.
It's confidence that continued to ensue. You could go to a press conference from Kim Caldwell just after they get back from the break, where I think for them it's about like 10 days off. And, especially for young players, it could have either been like a nice reset, gave them time to really click and connect within the game and for it to kind of all mesh together and her finally understand it. But it was in those games, immediately following the break that you could see the confidence and you could see the IQ getting even better.
I have seen the confidence from her all week. She honestly, since she got back from Christmas break, has looked like a different player, and so that to me has been really big.
The first meeting against LSU, it was a pretty strong game for the freshman. And she was 2 of 3 from the 3-point line. She was 2 of 4 from the field, and when she was getting subbed in and subbed out, she was making significant impact. But I think it really took until about the second half for her to get going. So there's about 2 minutes after she gets subbed in, and she has a nice play with who other than Ruby Whitehorn, where they're able to kind of get together with an assist on a fast break to cut the deficit to 5 against the LSU Tigers. You can go 90 seconds later, and this is like probably the key play that the Lady Vols as a whole really need to capitalize on. It's Z Spearman who finally gets the defensive rebound. They get out in transition, and Ruby Whitehorn has some really good field vision and realizes that Kaniya is wide open in the corner, and on the fast break, instead of her taking the shot, she dishes it to Kaniya Boyd, and she sinks the triple try. And that gets everybody off of their feet, and that cuts the deficit to about a 6-point game. 90 seconds later, when they're in the fourth quarter, there's about 7 minutes left, she knocks down a triple, and it's a the 1-point game, her second of her 3 attempts on the game. So her ability to make quick impact, her ability to kind of anticipate passes or the way that a play might happen, the way that her and Ruby were able to really work together in those moments, I think is what the team needs to look back on and really highlight those plays and where they saw success against the greatest competition.
In high school, I never used to shoot the ball, but now that I'm a smaller guard in the SEC, I have to learn how to play all around.
And some things that it just feels like you just can't teach it, like they just have it or they don't, and it's in Kaniya's Boyd to just be like kind of the aggressor on the court, to go out there and try to make like game-changing types of plays with her defense and her on-ball defense and her IQ that she plays with. That is an area where getting steals, getting turnovers, deflections, whatever you want to call it, that's where she needs to be able to take her next step, because it can't just be all Talisha Cooper who ends up getting scoops and scores.
Really just being myself, being that hustle player, the person that brings the energy to the team and doing the little things when needed.
Year 2 could be a breakout season for Ruby Whitehorn. I'm really very excited to see the kind of growth that she's able to make this season. And when I said at the very top of this episode that she could benefit from more consistency in the field, that's because she's so close to being an elite scorer from the field. 16 times this season, she was 50% or better from the field. 7 times she led the team in scoring and in blocks. And steals and in assists, 4 times she led the team, and then 3 times she led the team in rebounding. If that doesn't tell you that she's an all-around player, I don't really know what else kind of stats I need to be looking at or what kind of numbers you're wanting to see before you're convinced that she is an all-around player for this team, especially when you go to offense. I think last season she really wanted to show that she could score from all 3 levels, so maybe you might want to take away maybe some of the 3-point attempts that she had. She showed you she could do it, but she is so much better, whether it's trying to get layups or especially in that mid-range opportunity. She is so lethal in those moments that is the area that she really needs to refine this season. I think oftentimes what led to maybe some of the deficiencies that we saw within the team a season ago, especially at the end of the season in the Sweet 16 against Texas, was they oftentimes forget that they don't have to be the guy all the time.
And the frustrating part for me is we can get other shots. We'll just settle for threes.
Used to being like someone who was relied on for doing solely that. And so it's hard to get adjusted to having teammates that you can count on.
And then when you look at this season, right, a couple of episodes, we've talked about the high school recruiting class and the transfers that are coming in. The talent will be there. The depth will be there. So by their ability to raise the floor, everyone's production should go up. It should be something that kind of almost happens automatically because of the talent and experience that is now built and woven into the fabric of this team. And when you have a leader like Ruby Whitehorn, who really stepped into that role a season ago and was one of maybe those echoing voices, you know, for the team, and she kind of leads into that primary like leadership role this season for Tennessee, like it could be a very exciting season because of what she learned a season ago and how much details really mattered and how much pouring into each other really mattered.
Ruby's going to push you to be the best version of yourself because she wants to see everybody on the team succeed. And just her being one of the older people on our team, she's just a great leader.
In the NCAA tournament, where it was a really bad exit in the SEC tournament, and what did they need to look for? What did they need to work on? Okay, well, it was relying on each other. When plays maybe didn't go the way that it was supposed to or that it did, they immediately would go to a small huddle, reset, and then get back out there to keep the minds right.
My favorite part of Ruby's game is kind of just who she is as a person. It has nothing to do with skill set, but she's a great teammate. She works really hard. She'll make the hustle plays. She did a really good job in that game of keeping everyone together, calling huddles, making sure we were on the same page.
And I think that is a huge aspect that Ruby or Z could really bring back to this year's team.
The attention to detail that she's brought to us about paying attention to the little things and how much they matter and how much they can make a difference in a game, it's been good.
I know we mentioned the Oklahoma game probably a couple of minutes ago at this point, the way that I talk, I want to go back to that real quick because that shows where Ruby Whitehorn really is effective from the field. After getting subbed in, it was only a couple of seconds later, and she immediately goes on like this 4-0 run. And it's from, going baseline. It's getting layups, and that really affected the game almost immediately. I think she subbed in at the 5:18 mark, and at 5:16 she already has a bucket and helps cut the deficit a little bit more. And it's that ability to kind of spark the offense, right? This team does so much when they see the first shot fall. They almost kind of become unstoppable. And that's where the team maybe will take the next step because they have so many more shooters on the team. They've got the size and length that they desperately need in the SEC. And then they have experience within her system. But I believe it all goes back to those two players, Kaniya Boyd and Ruby Whitehorn. Should they take significant growth or a little bit of growth, it will have a huge impact on the overall success of the team. And I am just looking forward to finally getting our first look at the team that will hopefully come up within the next couple of weeks, and we could really, dissect the team and kind of see where they are at their first couple of weeks into summer workouts. But until then, we'll be in Atlanta next week for SEC Media Day, so make sure you have your notifications on so you don't miss out on any of that conversation coming up next week from the Peach State. I'll talk to you guys then.